The massive space station hung in the void like a giant metal flower. Its silver arms stretched out in all directions, each one bigger than most planets. This was Nexus Prime, the center of everything important in the galaxy. Today, something very unusual was happening inside. Ambassador Zixthara stood at the center of the Great Hall. Her body looked like living crystal, blue and clear, with light moving inside her like trapped lightning. Around her sat the representatives of 47 different worlds. Some looked like giant insects. Others were made of gas and floated in special containers. A few looked almost human, but with too many eyes or arms in the wrong places. "My fellow council members," Zixthara began, her voice sounding like wind chimes in a storm. "We have a problem, a big problem." The hall grew quiet. When Zixthara spoke, everyone listened. Her people, the Veltani, had been exploring space for thousands of years. They knew things that other races had forgotten. "For 12 of our years, we have been watching a planet called Earth. It circles a yellow star in what they call the Sol system. The beings there call themselves humans." She paused, letting her words sink in. "Our scientists have studied them carefully. They have reached a decision that has never been made before in the history of this council." A delegate that looked like a walking tree raised one of its branch arms. "What kind of decision, Ambassador?" "We must never, under any circumstances, make hostile contact with these humans." The hall erupted in noise. Delegates buzzed, chirped, and made sounds that had no names. The idea seemed crazy. Earth was just one small planet. Its people had barely learned to leave their own world. They fought each other over patches of dirt and small differences in belief. Their planet was dirty and getting dirtier. How could such a backward race be dangerous? "You must be joking," said General Clix of the Mordani Empire. His people looked like giant crabs with too many claws. "These humans cannot even travel faster than light. They have wars over water and metal. Half their planet is covered in poison they made themselves." "That is exactly why we must fear them," Zixthara replied. "They live on what our scientists call a death world. Everything on their planet is trying to kill them. The weather, the animals, even tiny creatures too small to see. And yet they thrive." She touched a control, and a three-dimensional image appeared in the center of the hall. It showed Earth, blue and white and beautiful from space. But as the image changed, it showed the reality of life there. Hurricanes that could level cities. Earthquakes that split the ground open. Volcanoes that burned entire regions. Animals with teeth like knives and venom that could kill in minutes. "Look at their history," Zixthara continued. "Ice ages that should have killed them all. Plagues that wiped out half their population. Disasters that would have ended any other species. But what do humans do? They adapt, they survive. They become stronger, but they fight each other constantly," protested Ambassador Quilp of the Peaceful Harmony Worlds. "Surely that makes them weak?" "No," said Zixthara firmly. "It makes them experts at war. Every human alive today comes from a long line of survivors. They have been fighting for their lives since they first stood upright. Not just against nature, but against each other. They have turned warfare into an art form." She changed the image again. Now it showed human cities with buildings that reached toward the sky like metal fingers. Factories that never stopped working. Ships that crossed their oceans carrying goods and weapons. Planes that filled their skies like flocks of metal birds. In just 200 of their years, they went from riding animals to splitting atoms. In 50 more years, they went from their first flying machine to walking on their moon. Now they are testing engines that bend space itself. They learn faster than any species we have ever encountered. "So what are you suggesting?" asked the delegate from Centauri Prime. "That we hide from these primitives?" "I am suggesting that we leave them alone," Zixthara said. "Let them develop naturally. Maybe in 1,000 years, when they have had time to become civilized, we can think about contact, but not now. Not while they are still what they are. And what exactly are they? General Klix demanded. Zixthara was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was softer, but somehow more frightening. They are apex predators who have run out of things to hunt on their own world. They are problem solvers who see every obstacle as a challenge to overcome. They are a species that grows stronger under pressure instead of weaker. And worst of all, they do not know the meaning of surrender. Far away from the council chamber, on a small blue planet orbiting a yellow star, Captain Jake Miller was having the best day of his life. He sat in the pilot's seat of the Aurora, humanity's first faster-than-light spacecraft. It was not much to look at, just a metal cylinder with engines that took up most of the space inside. But it was humanity's ticket to the stars. Ready for the test, Jake? Asked Dr. Lisa Hayes from the seat beside him. She was the smartest person he had ever met, and she had spent 10 years of her life building the engine that hummed behind them. Born ready, Jake replied, his hand steady on the controls. Let's make history. The Aurora hung in space beyond the orbit of Mars, far from Earth and its busy space traffic. 3 other crew members monitored instruments and checked systems. Everything was perfect. Everything was ready. Initiating warp drive in 3.2.1. Mark. Jake pushed the button. For exactly 3.7 seconds, the Aurora moved faster than light itself. The stars blurred into lines of light. Space twisted around them like taffy. Then, just as suddenly, they were back in normal space and alarms were screaming. Engine overload, shouted engineer Mike Torres, shutting down all systems. But did it work? Jake asked, grinning despite the smoke filling the cabin. Lisa Hayes looked at her instruments, and her face broke into the biggest smile Jake had ever seen. It worked. We actually did it. Humanity just took its first step into the galaxy. Neither of them knew that their 3-second journey had been detected by sensors across 50 light-years of space. Neither of them knew that their success had just started a countdown to the greatest crisis the galaxy had ever seen. And neither of them knew that, somewhere in the darkness between the stars, General Vakmer of the Krexter Dominion was already preparing his fleet for what he thought would be an easy conquest. The first rule of the universe was about to be ignored, and the galaxy would never be the same. Back on Nexus Prime, Zixthara felt a chill run through her crystal body. Her people had a saying, when the sleeping giant wakes, the wise run fast and far. But she feared it was already too late for running. Humanity had just announced its presence to the galaxy. And whether they knew it or not, they had just declared war on everything that had come before. 3 weeks had passed since the Aurora's test flight. The small ship sat in a repair dock orbiting Earth, its engines still smoking from the overload. Captain Jake Miller floated nearby in his spacesuit, helping engineer Mike Torres replace burned circuits. They worked quietly, both men still amazed that their crazy experiment had actually worked. On the other side of Earth, Admiral Kate Ross stood on the bridge of the orbital station Cerberus. She commanded humanity's small fleet of military ships, most of them designed to fight other humans, not aliens. Kate had been a Navy captain before the space program began. She was tough, smart, and completely unprepared for what was about to happen. "Admiral," called Lieutenant Bobby Chun from his console. "Long-range sensors are picking up something weird near Neptune." Kate floated over to look at his screen. 12 massive shapes were dropping out of some kind of faster-than-light travel. They were huge, each one bigger than anything humans had ever built, and they were heading straight toward Earth. "Get me President Carter," Kate ordered. "Right now." President John Carter was in a meeting when the call came through. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes, the kind of leader who had spent years dealing with Earth's problems. He had never expected to deal with visitors from space. "How long do we have?" he asked Kate over the video link. At their current speed, about 6 hours, Kate replied. They're not trying to hide. Whatever they want us to know they're coming. Any attempts at communication? Yes, sir. Coming through now. The message that came from the alien ships was translated by Earth's computers. The voice was deep and harsh, like rocks grinding together. Primitive beings of the third planet. You will submit to the authority of the Krexter Dominion. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick. Resist and you will suffer before you die. President Carter was quiet for a long moment. Around him, his advisors whispered urgently. Some wanted to surrender. Others wanted to fight. All of them were scared. Send them our answer, Carter said finally. His voice was steady and calm. Tell them that Earth doesn't kneel to anyone. General Vakmer of the Krexter Dominion received Earth's response aboard his flagship. He was a massive creature, covered in thick armor that looked like it had grown from his skin. His face was all teeth and angry eyes. He had conquered 17 worlds for the Dominion, and Earth would be number 18. Foolish creatures, he growled to his officers. Deploy the scout squadron. Show them what happens to those who refuse the Dominion. Commander Alex Turner was in his fighter when the alert came through. The Wasp was humanity's newest combat ship, fast and deadly, but tiny compared to what was coming. Alex had been a test pilot before joining the Space Force. He was the kind of man who thought impossible was just another word for interesting. All fighters, this is Control, came Kate's voice over the radio. We have 12 enemy fighters approaching from Neptune. You are authorized to engage. Alex looked at his instruments. 12 human fighters against 12 alien ships. It should have been a fair fight, except the alien ships were 3 times bigger and covered in energy shields that could stop anything humans could throw at them. Copy that, Control, Alex replied. Wasp Squadron, let's go introduce ourselves to the neighbors. The battle began near Jupiter's moons. The alien fighters moved in perfect formation, their weapons charging with deadly light. They had fought 1,000 battles and won them all. Their computers had analyzed every known species in the galaxy. They knew exactly how this fight would go. They were wrong. Instead of forming up like civilized species did, the human fighters scattered in all directions. Alex led 3 ships toward the asteroid belt. Lieutenant Sarah Kim took her group behind Jupiter's largest moon. The others split up and used the planet's gravity to slingshot themselves into impossible attack angles. What are they doing? Demanded Krexter Squadron Leader Gorth. This makes no tactical sense. His computer agreed. No species fought this way. It was chaos. It was madness. It was completely unpredictable. Alex came screaming out of the asteroid belt at full speed, his ship spinning like a bullet. He fired every missile he had at once, not at the enemy ships but at the rocks around them. The explosion sent chunks of stone flying in all directions, and the aliens had to break formation to avoid them. Now! Alex shouted into his radio. Sarah's group came around Jupiter's moon at the same moment, catching the scattered aliens from behind. Their railguns hammered at the enemy shields, which flickered and sparked under the assault. The alien weapons were more powerful, but they couldn't hit targets that refused to fly in straight lines. The humans rolled and spun and dove, making it impossible for the alien computers to get a lock. Sir, reported one of Gorth's pilots, their fighting style is not in our database. Our targeting systems cannot predict their movements. Then target them manually, Gorth ordered. But it was too late. Alex's fighter had taken heavy damage. His engines were failing and his weapons were empty. Any sane pilot would have retreated. Instead, Alex did something that no alien species had ever done in the history of galactic warfare. He rammed his ship into the alien command vessel. The explosion lit up space like a small sun. Both ships were destroyed instantly. But the blast damaged 3 other alien fighters and sent them spinning out of control. Impossible, whispered Gorth. No civilized being would sacrifice themselves like that. "Control to all fighters," came Kate's voice over the radio. "Alex is down. Repeat, Wasp Leader is down." The remaining human pilots didn't retreat. They didn't mourn. They got angry. Lieutenant Danny Park, Alex's wingman, screamed with rage as he emptied his guns into the nearest alien ship. When his ammunition ran out, he used his ship as a battering ram, smashing into the alien's engine section. One by one, the human fighters threw themselves at the enemy with no thought for their own safety. They fought like cornered animals, like desperate survivors, like nothing the galaxy had ever seen before. In the end, 7 alien fighters limped away from the battle. 5 human fighters were destroyed. By any measure, the aliens had won. But as Squadron Leader Gorth reported to General Vakmer, something had changed. "Sir, we need to reconsider our approach to these humans," Gorth said carefully. "They do not fight like any species in our records. They seem to prefer death to defeat." General Vakmer laughed, a sound like breaking stone. "Then we will give them what they prefer. Prepare the main fleet for assault. If they want to die gloriously, we will help them." On Earth, President Carter met with his military leaders in the deep bunkers beneath Washington. The first battle was over, but everyone knew it was just the beginning. "How many more fighters do we have?" Carter asked. 43 operational, Admiral Ross replied. "Maybe 50 if we can repair the damaged ones." "And they have how many?" "Ships? 12 battleships, each one carrying at least 100 fighters." The numbers were impossible. Earth had no chance. Any rational leader would have started surrender negotiations immediately. Instead, President Carter turned to his generals and admirals and said, "Gentlemen, it looks like we're going to have to get creative." High above Earth, the alien fleet moved closer. General Vakmer was confident that the next battle would be humanity's last. He had no way of knowing that humans had been getting creative about warfare for thousands of years. And he was about to learn why the Galactic Council had been so afraid. 6 months had passed since the first battle near Jupiter. Earth had changed in ways that no one could have imagined. Factories that once made cars and computers now worked day and night building weapons and spaceships. Every nation on the planet had joined together for the first time in human history. They had a common enemy now. And that changed everything. Chief Engineer Maya Rodriguez stood in the massive construction bay floating above Earth's North Pole. Around her, thousands of workers swarmed over humanity's first real warship. The used Defiance was 3 times bigger than anything humans had built before. It was ugly and brutal looking, covered in weapons and armor plates. But it was theirs, and it was ready to fight. "The alien technology we captured is incredible," Maya explained to Admiral Kate Ross as they walked through the ship's corridors. "Their shields, their weapons, their engines, they're all centuries ahead of ours. But we've learned something important about them." "What's that?" Kate asked. "They build everything the same way. Every ship, every weapon, every piece of equipment follows the exact same patterns. They never change, never adapt, never try anything new. That's going to be their weakness." Maya led Kate to the bridge where Captain Ben Clark was running final systems checks. Ben had been a submarine captain before the war started. He understood how to fight when outnumbered and outgunned. He was exactly the kind of officer humanity needed right now. "How does she look, Captain?" Kate asked. "Like she's ready to kick some alien teeth in," Ben replied with a grin. "The crew is trained, the weapons are loaded, and we have a target picked out." The target was the Krexter forward base at Proxima Centauri, humanity's nearest star neighbor. The aliens had built a massive fortress there, defended by 20 warships and enough firepower to destroy a planet. Any sane military commander would have waited for backup, gathered more ships, planned a careful assault. Instead, Captain Clark was taking 1 ship against 20 in a direct frontal attack. "The plan is simple," Ben explained to his crew over the ship's communication system. We jump in fast, hit them hard, and keep hitting them until they're all dead, or we are. Questions? Lieutenant Grace Murphy, the ship's tactical officer, raised her hand. Sir, aren't we massively outnumbered? Yes. We are, Lieutenant. That means they won't be expecting us to attack at all. Surprise is our best weapon. Dr. Sam Bennett, Earth's leading expert on alien biology, had spent months studying the Crickster prisoners from the first battle. What he found was disturbing and hopeful at the same time. They're not like us, he reported to Earth Command. Every decision they make is based on mathematical probability. They calculate the odds of success before they do anything. If the odds are bad, they don't act. It's how their entire society works. And humans? Asked President Carter. Humans are the opposite. We see bad odds as a challenge. The worse the odds get, the more determined we become. We're literally the only species in the galaxy that gets more dangerous when we're losing. The Defiance jumped into the Proxima system at full speed. The alien base's sensors detected the single human ship immediately. For several minutes, the defenders did nothing. Their computers were trying to understand why one ship would attack 20. This has to be a trick, said Base Commander Zekthar to his officers. No species is this foolish. There must be more ships hiding somewhere. Long-range sensors show nothing, sir, his sensor officer reported. It's just one ship, then destroy it. But destroying the Defiance was easier said than done. Captain Clark had studied every battle the aliens had ever fought. He knew their tactics, their weapons, their weaknesses. And he had something they didn't have, a crew that refused to give up no matter what happened. The human ship jumped directly into the middle of the alien formation, appearing between two massive battleships like a magic trick. Before the aliens could react, the Defiance unleashed every weapon it had at point-blank range. Nuclear missiles, railgun rounds, and experimental energy weapons hammered into the alien ships. The Crickster shields, designed to stop attacks from long range, couldn't handle the punishment at close distance. 2 alien ships exploded in balls of fire. Impossible, Commander Zekthar whispered. They're fighting inside our formation. No civilized species fights this way. The battle turned into a close-range brawl. The Defiance twisted and rolled between the larger alien ships, using them as shields against each other. When the ship's main engines were damaged, Engineer Tony Hayes jury-rigged the maneuvering thrusters to keep them moving. When the missile launchers jammed, Weapons Officer Lisa Park began firing the backup systems by hand. Hull breach on Deck 7, reported Damage Control Officer Mike Stone. We're losing atmosphere. Seal it with whatever you can find, Captain Clark ordered. We're not done here yet. The crew worked miracles. They patched holes with spare metal. They rewired damaged systems with cables pulled from broken equipment. They kept fighting even when the ship was falling apart around them. Lieutenant Grace Murphy made a discovery that changed everything. The alien tactical computers, designed to predict enemy behavior, couldn't adapt to human unpredictability fast enough. Captain, they're always one step behind us, she reported. Every time we do something unexpected, it takes their computers several seconds to adjust. We can use that. How? Random movement patterns. Don't follow any plan. Just react to whatever happens next. It was the most unscientific battle plan in military history. Instead of careful tactics, the Defiance began fighting on pure instinct. Captain Clark gave orders based on gut feeling rather than logic. The crew responded without thinking, reacting to threats as they appeared. The alien defenders couldn't keep up. Their computers, programmed with the battle patterns of 1,000 species, had never encountered an enemy that made decisions based on emotion rather than calculation. One by one, the alien ships fell. The Defiance, battered and smoking, continued to fight even as pieces of its hull floated away in space. Sir, we're down to emergency power, reported Chief Engineer Hayes. Weapons are offline. We have maybe 10 minutes of life support left. Captain Clark looked around his destroyed bridge. Half his crew was wounded. The ship was dying. Any reasonable commander would have surrendered. Instead, Ben Clark smiled. Then we better finish this in 9 minutes. Murphy, do we have any weapons left at all? Just the emergency flares, sir. Good enough. Hayes, can you rig those flares to explode? Probably, but they won't do much damage. They don't need to do damage. They just need to make the aliens think we still have fight left in us. The last alien battleship moved in for the kill, confident that the human ship was helpless. Instead, the Defiance launched a spread of modified flares that lit up space like fireworks. The display looked like a massive weapons barrage. The alien commander, already shaken by the humans' impossible fighting style, decided he had seen enough. Rather than risk his last ship against an enemy that refused to die, he ordered a retreat. The Proxima base fell to a single human ship that should have been destroyed in the first 5 minutes of battle. The victory sent shockwaves through the Krexter military. How many ships did the humans use? General Vakmer demanded when he received the report. 1, sir. Just 1. That's impossible. Our base had 20 ships. Yes, sir. The humans destroyed or damaged 18 of them. Commander Zekthar retreated with the survivors. General Vakmer was quiet for a long time. His entire military doctrine was based on superior numbers and firepower. The humans had just proven that neither mattered if your enemy refused to accept defeat. Deploy the biological weapons, he ordered finally. If we cannot defeat them in battle, we will kill them with disease. The plague ships launched toward Earth 3 days later. The Krexter had used biological warfare against dozens of species. It was clean, efficient, and always worked. Within weeks, the target planet would be empty and ready for colonization. But General Vakmer had made the same mistake as everyone else who had underestimated humanity. He assumed that humans were like every other species in the galaxy. He was about to learn that humans were the only species that had evolved on a planet, trying to kill them every single day. The plague would reach Earth in 2 weeks. The Krexter were confident it would end the war quickly and quietly. They had no idea that they were about to face an enemy that had survived ice ages, asteroid impacts, and every disease their own world could throw at them. Humanity was about to show the galaxy what it meant to be the ultimate survivors. The plague arrived on Earth hidden inside what looked like ordinary asteroids. The Krexter had used this method many times before. The rocks would burn up in the atmosphere and spread deadly microorganisms designed to kill all carbon-based life. It was clean, quiet, and always worked perfectly. Emma White was working in her underground laboratory when the first reports came in. Cities around the world were going dark. Communications were cutting out. Satellite feeds showed empty streets, where millions of people should have been walking. For 3 weeks, Earth was silent. It's over, General Vakmer told his officers aboard his flagship. The humans are extinct. We can begin colonization immediately. Sir, his intelligence officer said carefully, we're still detecting some energy signatures from the planet. Perhaps we should wait a bit longer to be certain. Impossible. The plague has never failed. Those are just automated systems running down. Within days, even those will stop. But General Vakmer was wrong. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. White was very much alive and working frantically in her sealed laboratory. Around her, teams of scientists from every nation on Earth struggled to understand what had happened to their world. The plague is incredible, Dr. White reported to the emergency government bunkers. It's designed to attack the basic cellular structure of carbon-based life. Any normal species would be dead within hours. But we're not normal, said President Carter over the secure communication link. He was speaking from a bunker beneath Washington, one of dozens of hidden facilities where Earth's leaders had taken shelter. No, sir, we're not. The plague was designed for species that evolved on safe, stable worlds. Earth has been trying to kill us for millions of years. We've survived ice ages, volcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts, and every disease our own planet could create. Our immune systems are like nothing else in the galaxy. Dr. White pulled up genetic data on her screens. Look at this. The plague attacks specific genetic markers that exist in every known alien species. But humans have backup systems, genetic redundancies, cellular repair mechanisms that evolved to handle Earth's constant threats. We're not just surviving the plague, we're adapting to it. How long before we're immune? Asked General Tony Hayes, who had taken command of Earth's military from his own bunker. Most people already are. The plague killed about 10% of the population in the first week, mostly the very young and very old. But the rest of us are developing immunity faster than the plague can evolve. Give us another month, and this disease will be completely harmless to humans. What the aliens didn't know was that humanity's apparent silence was actually preparation. While the galaxy thought Earth was dead, human engineers were building the largest fleet in their history. Hidden shipyards on the moon and in the asteroid belt worked around the clock. Every human who had survived the plague was now focused on one goal, making the aliens pay for what they had tried to do. Captain Tony Hayes, the general's younger brother, commanded the first ship to break Earth's silence. The U's Vengeance dropped out of hyperspace near the Krexter colony world of Kethmore, scaring the local defense fleet half to death. "This is Captain Hayes of the human fleet," he broadcast on all frequencies. "We're not dead. We're angry. And we're coming for all of you." The Battle of Kethmore lasted 6 hours. The humans fought with a fury that terrified the aliens. Instead of careful tactics, they used pure aggression. Instead of preserving their ships, they threw them at the enemy like guided missiles. Instead of accepting losses, they turned every damaged ship into a weapon. Commander Rachel Stone led a boarding party onto the alien flagship. Her team of Marines fought through the ship's corridors with magnetic boots and improvised explosives. The aliens had never faced enemies who could fight in zero gravity as if they had been born in space. "They're everywhere," reported the alien ship's captain to his high command. "They move through our ship like ghosts. They know our layout better than we do." How is this possible? The answer was simple. Humans had studied every piece of alien technology they could get their hands over. They had learned alien ship designs, alien tactics, alien weaknesses. While the aliens had dismissed humans as primitives, humans had been learning everything they could about their enemies. "Target their life support," Rachel ordered her team. "Force them into their escape pods." "Ma'am, that will kill everyone on board," said Marine Sergeant Dave Kim. "They tried to wipe out our entire species with a plague," Rachel replied coldly. "I'm not feeling particularly merciful right now." The alien crew abandoned ship rather than face the humans in hand-to-hand combat. The Marines took control of the massive battleship and turned its weapons on the remaining alien fleet. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out as humanity launched what they called Operation Wildfire. 12 Krexter systems came under attack, simultaneously by forces that should not have existed. The humans had built their fleet in secret while pretending to be dead. On the Galactic Council station Nexus Prime, emergency sessions ran around the clock. Ambassador Zix Thara stood before her fellow delegates, her crystal body flickering with worry. "The humans are not following any known patterns of galactic warfare," she reported. "They are attacking multiple systems with insufficient forces. They are treating this as what they call total war. If this continues, it will destabilize our entire sector." "What do you mean by total war?" asked the delegate from Harmony Prime. "It means they consider every Krexter world, every Krexter ship, every Krexter citizen to be a legitimate target. They are not fighting for territory or resources. They are fighting for revenge." Dr. Charles Wright, Earth's first expert on alien psychology, had been studying captured Krexter soldiers. What he found explained everything about why the war was going so badly for the aliens. Every species in the galaxy evolved to avoid conflict when facing superior odds, he reported to Earth Command. It's basic survival instinct. When things get dangerous, you retreat and regroup. But humans are different. We evolved to become more aggressive when threatened, not less. We're the only species that gets meaner when we're losing. Colonel Janet Pierce was proving that point on the Krexter homeworld of Vextar. Her landing force of 5,000 Marines was facing off against an entire planet of 2 billion aliens. The odds were impossible, but Janet's troops had dug in and refused to retreat. "Send word to Earth," she transmitted from her command bunker as alien artillery hammered the ground around her. "Tell them we've taken the capital spaceport, and we're not giving it back." The siege of Vextar lasted 8 months. Janet's force, cut off from all support, held their positions against impossible odds. They built weapons from scavenged alien equipment. They captured enemy supplies through night raids. They turned an alien city into a fortress and dared the entire Krexter military to try and take it back. "How are they still alive?" General Vakmer demanded as he reviewed the reports. "They have no supply lines, no reinforcements, no hope of rescue. Why don't they surrender?" His intelligence officer had spent months studying human psychology and had finally reached a terrifying conclusion. "Sir, I don't think they know how to surrender. Their species literally cannot comprehend the concept of giving up." The truth was even more disturbing than that. Humans could surrender, but only when they chose to. And right now, humanity had chosen to fight until every Krexter in the galaxy was dead or defeated. The war was entering its 2nd year, and the aliens were beginning to realize that they had made a terrible mistake. They had attacked a species that treated impossible odds as a personal challenge. They had tried to exterminate a race that had spent millions of years surviving on a planet that killed everything else. And now they were learning what happened when you made enemies of the greatest survivors in the galaxy. From her command post on Vextar, Colonel Pierce sent one final message to the Krexter High Command. "You wanted to know what humans are capable of. You're about to find out." 2 years after the first alien ship had appeared near Neptune, General Vakmer stood in the cargo bay of the human flagship UE's Indomitable. His armor was cracked and his pride was broken. Around him, the last surviving officers of the once mighty Krexter Dominion waited to sign papers that would end their empire forever. Admiral Jake Miller, the same pilot who had tested humanity's first warp drive, looked down at the alien general who had started this war. Jake had come a long way from flying experimental ships. Now he commanded the most powerful fleet in the galaxy, and the aliens who had once thought humans were primitives were surrendering to him. "Your terms are acceptable," Vakmer said in broken English. Learning the human language had been his punishment from his own government. The Krexter Dominion formally surrenders all territory and military assets to the human government. "Good," Jake replied. "But I want to know something before we finish this. Why did you attack us?" "Your own council warned against it." Vakmer was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was filled with something humans had never heard from an alien before: fear. "We thought you were weak because you fought each other. We thought you were primitive because your technology was simple. We thought you were helpless because you had not explored the galaxy." He looked up at Jake with eyes that held terrible understanding. "We were wrong about everything. What did you learn?" Jake asked. "That there is a difference between being primitive and being dangerous. That there is a difference between fighting for territory and fighting for survival. That there is a difference between a species that avoids war and a species that has spent its entire existence preparing for it." President John Carter, now in his 3rd year of leading humanity through the greatest crisis in their history, watched the surrender ceremony from Earth. Around him sat representatives from dozens of alien governments who had come to witness the End of the Crexter threat. What happens now? Asked Ambassador Quindala of the peaceful F-Mori coalition. The Crexter Dominion controlled 14 star systems. Who will govern those worlds? The people who live there, Carter replied. Humans didn't fight this war to build an empire. We fought it because someone tried to kill us all. The Galactic Council had been meeting continuously for 6 months, trying to understand what the human victory meant for everyone else. Ambassador Zix Thora stood before the assembly once again, but this time her message was very different. Fellow delegates, she began, we must face the reality of our new situation. Humanity has proven that they are the most effective military force in known space. They have offered to take a permanent seat on this council and to serve as peacekeepers for our galaxy. Peacekeepers? Asked the delegate from Centauri Prime. These humans just destroyed the largest empire in our sector. Yes, Zix Thara replied. And they did it in 2 years with minimal losses to innocent civilians and without claiming any territory for themselves. They fought a cleaner war than any of us have ever managed. The truth was even more impressive than that. Human forces had specifically avoided attacking Crexter civilian targets. They had captured alien soldiers instead of killing them when possible. They had provided medical aid to alien civilians caught in the fighting. The humans had fought the most effective military campaign in galactic history while following moral rules that no other species had ever bothered with. Ambassador Kelly Wright, Earth's first representative to the Galactic Council, addressed the assembly for the first time. She was a small woman with gray hair and tired eyes, but when she spoke, every delegate listened. Humanity accepts your offer, she said simply. But understand this, we didn't fight the Crexter because we wanted war. We fought because they threatened our home. That same determination will protect any world that accepts our friendship. Dr. Lisa Hayes, now Earth's lead scientist in the new Galactic Research Initiative, had made discoveries that changed everything anyone thought they knew about evolution and intelligence. Her research station orbited the ruins of the former Crexter capital, studying the aftermath of humanity's victory. The galaxy has been stable for millions of years, she explained to scientists from 47 different worlds. Every species evolved on relatively safe planets with predictable environments. You developed intelligence to solve problems through cooperation and careful planning. And humans? Asked Dr. Velfin of the Advanced Merrick's Collective. Humans evolved on what we now classify as a Class 12 death world. Everything on Earth was trying to kill us every single day. We developed intelligence not for cooperation, but for survival. We learned to think fast, adapt quickly, and never give up no matter how bad things got. Her research had proven that humanity was not just different from other galactic species, they were unique. No other known civilization had evolved under such constant threat. No other species had developed the ability to become more effective. Under pressure instead of less effective. The galaxy needed us, Lisa continued. You've been safe for so long that you forgot how to handle real threats. When something like the Crexter appeared, none of you knew how to stop them. But for humans, they were just another predator to overcome. Captain Ben Clark, now Admiral Clark, oversaw the construction of the new joint human-alien fleet. The ships combined the best alien technology with human tactical innovation. But more importantly, they were crewed by mixed teams of humans and aliens working together. The aliens are learning from us, Ben reported to Earth Command. They're starting to think more creatively, take calculated risks, adapt to unexpected situations, and we're learning from them too. Their technology, their scientific knowledge, their different ways of looking at problems. The real change came when long-range sensors detected new threats from beyond the galactic rim. Ancient enemies that had been defeated and banished millions of years ago were returning from exile. The devourer swarms, machines left over from wars that predated most current civilizations, were moving toward inhabited space. How did previous civilizations defeat them? Admiral Miller asked the Galactic Council's historians. They didn't, came the disturbing reply. Previous civilizations ran away and hid until the Devourers left on their own. No one has ever actually fought them and won. Admiral Miller smiled the same way he had smiled when testing humanity's first warp drive. Well, there's a first time. For everything. The final scene of the war played out in the council chambers of Nexus Prime. President Carter, now addressing a joint session of the United Earth Council and the Galactic Assembly, established humanity's new role in the cosmos. To our new allies across the galaxy, Carter said, his words being transmitted to billions of beings on hundreds of worlds, we offer this promise. Earth will defend those who cannot defend themselves. We will fight battles that others consider unwinnable. We will stand against any force that threatens the freedom of sentient beings. He paused, looking around at the alien delegates who had once feared humanity and now depended on them. The first rule of the universe was to don't mess with humans. We ignored that rule when we refused to surrender to the Krexter. Now we're writing a new rule for the galaxy. Don't mess with anyone under human protection. As the ceremony ended and delegates began planning for the new threats approaching from deep space, one thing was clear to everyone present. Humanity had not just survived their introduction to galactic civilization. They had fundamentally changed what it meant to be civilized in a universe full of dangers. The galaxy finally had guardians, who viewed impossible odds not as a reason to surrender, but as a challenge to overcome.